Maybe as some of the more comfortable picks for GENG get taken away, perhaps EGAL can get something going here in this draft.
Well, that's exactly the time that it is. The Gwen is going to remain permanently banned. The Pantheon is also going to do the same thing, as there is that Skarner ban coming in. A lot of respect for Canyon's Skarner so far this tournament. And Wolf, you brought us back to what happened last year at EWC. It was a very disappointing tournament for GENG. I think a lot of people probably even forgot they were there because they left so incredibly quickly. Yeah. This time around, something to prove. Saying, no, this time, this year, it is ours. And assuming, one game away.
Assuming they win that third game, Keen is definitely the front runner for MVP, I would say, for this finals. And he was the one who said he was most disappointed by their performance last year. So a lot of storylines colliding here. And AGL, they were so close to moving on to the finals at MSI. It's so close to actually having that opportunity to win that international title. It felt like coming into this, they had the momentum. And it is just completely gone now. This will be their last side selection game of the series, regardless what happens. So we have the Pantheon gone. Nico's gone here. Skarner banned again. We'll see what that first pick is going to be with the Rise here. Yeah. Talia, I feel like, is the safest one.
Yeah, it almost feels like bait, right? Banning away the Rise, like, do it. Because if they don't, then it's likely that Chovy will just snap it up.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give Chovy Talia. I mean, in its current form, maybe, because in the scrims, in the games we've seen, like, it doesn't feel like Talia is as dominant as it used to be, but it's a dangerous proposition to give that over to Chovy. And they first pick
That's first pick Rel, yeah.
I mean, they've had struggles.
Fearless bans.
They have had struggles with Engage this game, or this series, rather, I should say. They've really been unable to get onto the back line, and they've been completely outplayed by the Mobile Rakan, obviously later on the Bard. So I could feel the frustration, but I just don't know if this priority is warranted, to be totally frank.
It is Kyle, right? Even back when he was in the LCK, when he was debuting, this was his champion. His Rel was absolutely fantastic. Of course, the champion was a little bit different back then, was finding a lot of success in a lot of people's hands, but Kyle was certainly one to find a lot of that magic, as there is a Corki answer. Things are getting weird here in game number 3. It's not necessarily the priority list that I had in my head, but of course, you have to do a lot of gymnastics to work out what is there to answer what, and what is the highest on the priority list, as the Nautilus is going to be picked up, as both of these teams really valuing a lot of Engage.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the final pieces of hard Engage from the support role that you can pick up, so they want to get it early on to match the Rel and make sure that they have something. Also makes it a little bit less likely that we see more of those immobile 80 carries that can just be locked down from the Nautilus, but there's so much prio still available here in terms of tier list picks, and they give 2 over to EGAL and Talia and Xinjiao.
I'm really disappointed with this Nautilus lock-in, because you could have gotten either the Xinjiao or the Talia instead, and they already locked their support, so it just doesn't really make sense to me. Yes, now you get counter pick for both potentially the jungle or the mid pick here in this third rotation, but it feels like you gave over way too much here as GENG in this position. They will take the Wukong that was banned previously in game 2 here, and keep it a little bit flexible. Chovy loves his R5 unusual, like, you know, pick that comes through. We've seen him play like R5 Cassante mid in the past, so we've obviously seen him play things like the Aurelian Soul for supreme scaling, and he's going to keep it a bit of a mystery here. I don't agree with the decision yet for GENG, but let's wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, see whether it's his set once again coming out of the mid lane. Don't know whether that is going to be his pick into a Talia, but already we see the Kai'Sa banned away. Corki is something that Chovy has really enjoyed in the past as well, so that might be something that's forward on their minds. But now, the last couple of bans to come through here for AGAL, we'll see what they're fearing the most, as top lane still hasn't been locked in here, and Keen has been on an absolute tear, and I could imagine taking away some of his options could be a good idea, but never mind, will be that Orianna to make sure that Chovy isn't pulling a fast one.
Yeah, always got to be careful about that. Speaking of which, we have seen him play a lot of Corki in the past. Something he could do in this game. I don't think that's the current meta that you would go for.
You have to consider it.
Carry Corki, but yeah, it's something to consider.
Yorick is gone. That makes a lot of sense given how well Flandre played just yesterday on the pick, but
yeah. Frontline, I'm going to smash your face in Yorick is what he was playing.
I'm kind of
team fighting Yorick.
I'm kind of starting to feel like the angles here for Hope are dwindling, right? Because You're not playing Kalista in this comp, right? Like, you might just end up with an MF composition here, which is a little bit awkward with the Talia. And Corki's so safe, right? It's hard to actually lock him down. Looks like the Aurora is going to be the flex pick that comes through here for GENG in this 4th slot, really just keeping everything open.
It's a mega flex. We've got mega flex last pick here for Duro. He's going to lock in like either a top laner, a mid laner, or an AD carry, and we don't know which one it is yet.
We don't know which one it is. I think with Jibber and her priority coming up a lot nowadays, feels like the obvious choice here, especially with what you already have. Jibber very strong. You've got the Xin Zhao that can lead the charge with your ultimate. And obviously, Spell Shield for the Nautilus. And they're going to look for a frontliner here for the top lane. Renekton can handle if anything gets flexed on him. He's always going to be a very strong laner and obviously a very strong pick in general. So what's the final choice here for
GENG?
GENG?
We could just see something as simple as an Ornn pick here for GENG. You know, just absorb the Renekton pressure, scale up for later on. You've got some really strong engage for team fights with the Wukong already. You add the Ornn Horn on top of it, you've got a really strong front line for this Corki. And
Keen isn't talking all that much,
okay.
So it is looking like maybe that Aurora is going his way. The Ahri last pick is going to be locked in, confirms Ruler is going to be playing the Corki, and we are going to be having that Ahri in the mid lane. Ahri Wukong has been something that we've seen find a fair bit of success, but a lot of magic damage towards the top side of the map and not a lot of beef. You know, not a lot of beefiness here in this composition. It's going to be mainly Dura on that front line alone, and otherwise just a lot of damage.
GENG have both a lot of zone control and pick potential because the burst damage of Corki, the Wukong, works well with the Ahri. You could get single target blow up. One spell shield is not enough, unfortunately, for Jibber, I think, to deter all of this aggression. And AGL started off with the Talia pick, but this comp didn't really turn into a single target pick composition. It kind of became a scaling front to back comp that still has Weaver's Wall it can play through. But I think a lot of this game for AGL, a lot of their game plan was to try to get this Renekton ahead and play through it in sides with this Talia. But now the Renekton's melee into the ranged Aurora top side, and it's going to be hard to get that prio there. I feel like GENG have a pretty big draft edge here in this 3rd game.
Yeah, it's definitely a heavy amount of comfort, which they are able to find here in game number 3. We've loved the Ahri into Talia in the past, and Keen is just in love himself with this Aurora pick. And playing range into melee is just, that's right in Keen's wheelhouse. Feels like he can do anything, especially today. Like, this guy is holding the reins on that MVP. He wants it so badly. Might be able to add some extra points here with this Aurora performance.
Could be. I do think that the Talia is going to get a lot of value in this composition for AL. I think that that was a big risk that was taken by GENG. And so if this is the turnaround, I don't think that the draft is ill-equipped to deal with what GENG are doing. I just feel like AJAL today have not been equipped for GENG. They just haven't been able to stand up to these Titans from the LCK unless they can prove us wrong here in this 3rd game. It is do or die. Their key on the line. And GENG, as far as the club championship is concerned as well, they can rocket themselves to the top of those standings. Absolutely massive, not only for the League of Legends team, but for the organization as a whole. Because you have to remember, the Esports World Cup is more than just League of Legends. So support's going to be meeting here towards the top side, which is interesting that they both had exactly the same idea at the same time. Maybe just some supportal combat. They agreed. Okay, top alcove. Let's go 1v1.
That recall animation threw me for a loop. I thought perhaps he was going to look for the dredge. I mean, Keen is closer.
Well, he's just gone and gets the ward down. Oh, the last... Yeah, does get it. Okay, there we go.
Something interesting to point out, we have seen almost all of our supports go for the Unsealed Spellbook, but Duro on the Nautilus, understanding that this champ, if you don't have Aftershock, you just kind of go in and die, has elected not to go for the Unsealed Spellbook. I think that's definitely a good choice, especially into what you're looking at on the opposite side.
Remember the Glacial Augment when it came in the first time? We had so many Nautiluses just explode over and over again.
It both makes you powerful into the types of ways you could get caught, and it's a safe defensive tool into AGL, but it also empowers your engages and your setup for the Ahri composition that GENG are running. So makes a ton of sense. I feel like even though everyone is running Unsealed Spellbook, there are situations where you just have to buck that trend and go, what's good for my champ, what's good for my comp. I'm going to move away from what's overall the meta and focus really in on what this game looks like, what this draft looks like for me.
And it's press the attack Renekton. This is, like, we did see a little bit of shenanigans with the Electrocute up against Aurora just because you want to go in for bursty trades. I believe that was Ambessa that did it. This is press the attack Renekton, which with some help from Tarzan, Flandre will be doing a lot of damage. It's Kyle going aggressive, but the Shattering Strike is going to miss here as they hit level 2. Still, Duro gets a lot of use out of his Aftershock as he makes his way out, and GENG a little bit late on that level 2 themselves.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I feel like Duro not totally respecting that, but as you mentioned, he wanted to go in for the Aftershock. Took a bunch of damage, still has some potions. Definitely taking a look at that top lane and watching Keen just bully as we did expect. Looks like Tovi's doing a good job in mid at the same time in terms of the health trades so far. Looks like Shanks, though, will be able to get a push and go for a back here. Definitely looking towards Canyon to try to hit level 6 as fast as possible and link up with Tovi. We have seen GENG winning a lot of these early games and getting a bunch of tempo and kind of controlling the pace. We've said that a lot today. Well, see if they can do it again.
Bit of aggression absolutely everywhere, but it's Kyle taking the worst end of it. Down to about 250 here as GENG stand their ground.
And Duro still has heal. They actually need to be careful about a re-engage. Like Ruler and Duro double flash plus the heal. If another Gatling gun gets fully channeled like that, you are just out of luck in this lane. As they hit level 3, will be matched. And that's the end of that as Tarzan comes over Ruler and Duro, not knowing where he is, going to play respectfully and back away. And this top lane is a huge issue, though, as Keen just keeps grasp stacking and keeps chunking Flandre out. And this is a prio lane they expected to get, right? That's why you draft Renekton in a comp like this. And it is unfortunately just absolutely not going to work out as Canyon's coming over. Flandre is low, no Fury.
2v1 underneath this turret. We'll see whether Flandre can get enough of his health back. Oh yeah, without the Fury, it's really, really difficult. But he does slice and dice, and that'll get him to safety. Keen didn't want to be the one that tanked up that turret to start things off. But he does get a Demolish proc. That is going to be plate gold. And I don't think it's too bad. Canyon was looking for a back anyway. The full clear was completed. And yeah, Keen is like, no, Flandre, you're not allowed to approach this minion wave.
Yeah, you can see how he stacked the wave so that it would push into him. So it kind of forces Flandre to move up, and he has help from his jungler. Keen going to spot this and just flash away. So that's actually pretty good here for Flandre and Tarzan. They're able to immediately clap back with a bit of a flash takeaway from Keen, as here's Duro hanging around mid. But
yeah, they're going to swap top here, and it's going to be Keen heading down to the bottom lane. He has enough time to get there without TPings, which is huge for him. As, you know, supports join.
Mid lane, yep.
Yeah, supports join here as the lane swaps commence. They don't really need each other. As Kyle going to get charmed.
Yeah, not going to be able to crash down out of this one, actually, and he doesn't have a lot of options remaining. Still not enough damage here between Duro and Chovy at this stage of the game, so he will be able to make his way out and even holds on to the flash. Like, I don't know. Canyon off to the side is looking to take down these Raptors.
I don't know if this aggression is over yet. I think GENG can continue to put the pressure on here. Canyon's going to get these Raptors at least, and Kyle's low health bar here is such a problem. And also, we did see Flandre TP top, so TP advantage to Keen right now. GENG has so much agency.
Information advantage here, as Kyle wasn't actually seen, but another Shattering Strike goes wide. Kyle actually struggling a little bit here in this early game. You can see there are some wobbles that he has to get out. These Shattering Strikes that we're so used to seeing land from this guy just haven't been hitting the mark, as Ruler just really happily going through his history book as far as the teams that he's won titles on. Samsung Galaxy certainly being one of them.
Yeah, the 2017 above that. Shank's now getting chunked out. It feels like, especially if the Ahri is just getting guaranteed charms. That one wasn't a guaranteed charm, but he was just able to land it. But if you got the Nautilus nearby, you have to respect the damage, even with no items here in the early game. And Kyle, unfortunately, was not able to do that. So a lot of tempo did go over to GENG in those early trades. Still pretty even, though. I mean, AGAL have their bottom lane down here. You see Tarzan immediately running at the Dragon. Meanwhile, GENG, Duro, and Ruler are in the top lane, so trying to get onto Flandre.
Very aggressive from Flandre, who looks for Duro here. Almost finds him as the Dominus has been picked up. Ruler only level 5, but you can see a bit of a gank onto Keen on this bottom side as well. So he gets a fair bit of damage towards Hope, and he says, nice try, and walks back. Siva has some of the most memorable voice lines, by the way, like the better duck. Oh, so good. So, which is the better duck, by the way? Which one's she talking about?
I want to go back to the game 3 of the Grand Finals.
Darkwing Duck,
and talk about Darkwing Duck. Yeah. So the trade here onto Flandre, I mean, he ends up losing all of his health. He doesn't have teleport as another charm connects. And, I mean, this is going to be a trade that favors Chovy, but Aurora does have TP. So Keen, yeah, he gets threatened, almost gets taken out, didn't have his flash, but he could just TP back to lane. And at the same time, GENG continue to control every other aspect of the map right now. As you can see, Flandre slowly heading back to lane here, and IL looking for another angle. Still no flash for Keen.
Yep, Keen gonna have to try and weasel his way out of this one. Does do so with the ulti, and yeah, he's fine. Never you mind, just slip between worlds, ladies and gentlemen. That's your way of escape. And that is why Aurora works on the top side of the map. Or the bottom, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, definitely putting a lot of pressure on Keen at least, not making his life very easy, but, you know, with the Sivir, you're not going to have a huge amount of damage unless you're locking down the champion for quite a while, but as you mentioned, it's Aurora, so not really having a fun time of doing exactly that. We're zooming in onto Keen. Can he get all of these minions under the turret?
This is the height of the excitement in this game.
Got all of them, all
That's
7.
Insane.
Chovy is going to lose a lot of health here. Not actually landing a charm on this one. This is not the trade he was looking for, but at the end of the day, GENG is starting up this dragon, but because Chovy gets chunked, I think they're just simply going to have to regroup. Grubs are up as well on the top side of the map, so maybe they'll just simply pivot to this and let that Chemtech Drake go.
Might be the way. It looks like the Grubs are going to be the focus on both sides. As Flandre going to lose a plate here towards the top side. Ruler's just making his life difficult. As Duro is hovering, making sure that he keeps his Corki safe. Tarzan will start this up, as AGL definitely with the priority on the Grubs, as we were talking about. Still might be able to make a run for the Drake as well. As you can see, the blue vision, top side and bottom side, very good around these objectives. But Canyon looking to make his way over, wanting to take at least one of these. As GENG also looking for the fight. Couldn't quite get the knock-up onto Tarzan there. Kuduro, as they get into the backline. Canyon found no one with that Cyclone either. It's not exactly the fight that GENG were looking for, but still, they take first blood. Still, Shanks has to flash over the wall, and still, he's looking to go down as Chovy needs to find the charm. He doesn't quite get it, but still he gets the auto. It's not fair. It feels like it went as well as it could for AL, but finally their kills start to come in, and they even out the trade. Canyon gets some shellfish here off the back end of the fight, and in the end, it was pretty even between the two squads.
And the Cyclone wasn't amazing. A lot of stuff whiffs, and GENG, I think, could have had a way better fight had a lot of their big tools actually gone off. But it still ends up being a pretty good turnaround for them because the Grubs went over to AGL. They wanted to get something back. They so desperately needed to get something back here. And now you've generated a pretty significant lead here for Chovy in this game, but it's still pretty close. This is definitely AGL fighting back in a big way. The initial part of the fight, though, is so split for AL.
It was very weird.
Yeah, it definitely was. This was kind of like 3 fights happening all at the same time. Ruler a bit zoned by Flandre. Keep in mind that this is 4-on-4 for most of it until Hope comes up here on the Sivir. So 4-on-4 that GENG are winning. They get a bunch of damage on the Shanks, but Shanks, he's got the footwork. He's dodging everything.
Yep, and he's now able to single out Ruler here as well, who just wants to get himself out of here, although he's pretty dangerous. Ooh. Magnetstorm comes in, Seismic Shove, and Ruler is just dead. Didn't have the flash from the previous fight, and so AL gonna finally be able to take down the Corki here, and now looking for a dragon. It feels like the winds are potentially starting to change.
Yeah.
Like maybe there is a bit more in this series.
And for the first time in a while in this series, Tarzan actually finds an opening where Canyon is just not there. He's just not able to actually match the gank there, and there's no cross map, so it's just AL looking for a pick there. Ruler doesn't have flash, is unable to get away from that shove, finally gets taken out as the Sivir rotation comes down as well. I mean, that was just completely under AL's control, and Canyon's just doing his jungle. You know, he can't impact the play. Keen is trying to continue the pressure here on the top side, but GENG get nothing in return. But with the resets, we'll finally, very late into this game, take the first break.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of trading objectives by the end of it all. The 3 Grubs that did go over to the Renekton can be a bit of an issue a little bit later on for the side of AGAL. But still a relatively even game. It's kind of going to be the Sivir who's getting out of control, who has a cull, is very ahead on gold, already has a kill and 2 assists. So kind of the ball is in Hope's court in terms of trying to carry for his team. Also, Flandre's actually doing a pretty good job, even though early on in the game, he was definitely struggling against Keen. He was able to come back in a big way. And it's going to be up against Chovy and Canyon, who are the two Fed guys for the side of GENG. It's Ari Wukong. We've seen a lot of duos make it happen in many different regions. This game continues to be annoying. So it's going to be interesting to see which storyline does play out in this one.
Look at the vision that AGL have on the top side of the map. This is really reminiscent of what we saw from GENG when they controlled vision on the top side in Game 1. This is the first time in this series we have seen GENG put on the back foot quite significantly in terms of map control. And it comes down to that play onto Ruler, his second death of the game. Stabilization of Flandre here. It's still a gold lead for GENG, but they don't actually have full map control. That belongs to AL on the top side right now, and let's see how they utilize things, because they're the ones who also have this global Talia. So this next team fight is going to be really interesting. It's probably not going to happen for a while unless they're able to find a pick angle here, but certainly AGL are in the right position, the right conditions to actually blow this game open on the next fight if they can keep that map control.
Well, Canyon has been taking a lot of crabs. That's what I've seen recently. Otherwise, not too much. As GENG holding onto a sliver of a gold lead, about 500 in it. Some skill shots flying around. Kyle finally getting his eye in on that shattering strike. Will be able to land it onto Duro, and it is inconsequential. So mid lanes and supports hanging out in the top lane. You've got an 80 carry off in mid. Junglers are jungling. And you've got Chovy versus Flandre hanging out there towards the bottom side. Everything feeling pretty even. No one really finding big tempo leads or control of this game as it's ping-ponging waves waiting for the next objective. Speaking of which, that is going to be the Herald. It's going to be up in a minute and a half. See who's going to be able to get some control. It's a gentleman's agreement as far as the wards are concerned. Some deeper vision here on the side of AGAL, but I don't think GENG are really hurting for control at this stage of the game.
You mentioned the Cull, it's just cashed in. He had the Yuntals way accelerated in this game. You could see he ends up picking up the Zeal as well here. So it has his boots now. He's very powerful. Talking about Hope, of course, in this game has a significant
That got
lead.
them a gold lead.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And, I mean, AGL looking for this next fight here over Herald. They're already grouped up. They already have the better vision on top side. This is where GENG are going to have to make a really tricky decision. You know, do they TP Keenan, heavily commit, look for the Canyon engage angle? Ruler does have his Triforce here, so it's definitely playable. But this is a really tough fight. This is not going to be GENG having those wombo combos or just completely dictating the pace of the map, because there's also a Talia on the other side. Shanks can come through here. Unfortunately for AGL, though, they did concede control. Like, they had vision, but they did not actually seize control of the river early, and now GENG have a contest angle.
Yeah, they definitely have an angle in this one, but it does feel like, you know, with the control that AGL have with their composition, especially the Xin Zhao, it just feels like he can just run into brushes and be totally fine in even game states. It's part of what makes him so strong. I mean, a lot of pressure down on the bottom side as Tarzan is all the way down there.
Yeah.
The Herald is spawning.
Tarzan's just given this up. Like, he's not even anywhere near this. I think for GENG, they're probably a little bit surprised by that as well. And AL just playing extremely safe, but it's going to potentially cost them big as Canyon has an angle here.
Yeah, AL looking to come in. I think now they're realizing that the Herald has spawned, but it is going to be given up on here by GENG. They're respecting a whole lot as Tarzan finally does move his way in. Duro going to be their target. As On the Hunt has been popped. Duro trying to get himself out of there, and he will be able to do so. Just using the heal, actually. Still has the flash available. Can go for some cheeky plays with that depth charge if he would like to. Is now Flandre off on his own. Keen moves up as well. 5v5 now a possibility. As the Magnet Storm doesn't quite work, and Keen takes that as an invitation. The hook to connect onto the jungler, and it's looking like a disaster here for AL to start this one off. And they do manage to find, finally, Flandre getting in there. But is it too little, too late? That's the question, as Hope will be able to get himself a kill, and now Ruler trying to get himself out. Man, that was kind of crazy, but it's not going to work there for the 80 carrier GENG, and Hope is looking for Chovy, who's walking around with about 0 HP. Not entirely sure what just happened there, as the back is going to come in here for Flandre. The clone from Canyon looking to try and save him, but I think the Crocodile is just going to eat the monkey here, as finally the flash is employed, and Canyon looking to get himself out.
That was a very wild fight. I mean,
That was weird. Who even won?
they threw everything in the kitchen sink at this Nautilus, and Juro's like, yeah, okay, cool story, and we were looking at this like GENG were going to turn it around in a big way and just sweep the fight, but that was not the case because Flandre just spun on all of them at the end.
Watch Kyle in this moment decide he wants to go in here, gets the Shattering Strike, but then cancels his engage, flashes away, doesn't get on top of Keen, and Chovy and Brewer are able to do a ton of damage, but Flandre being this big and this untouched, getting this massive Q, wins the fight for AL. If he doesn't get there, if he's not able to make that happen, I think GENG cleaned this one up. Flandre had such a big part to play in this, and with the late Weaver's Wall here, the chase is good on Brewer. The flash was incredible. It was almost enough to turn it around for him, but it's not quite there. That was a great salvage, though, by Flandre, because otherwise, this game might have just ended, this finals might have ended, but the Renekton comes up big. Massive team fight damage, almost 4,000 in the fight.
That's that buffed dominus, baby. It is absolutely insane. It's just a tale of two top laners here in this series.
Yeah, it really is. In the series entirely, like Flandre getting the Sony MVPs the last couple of days and Keen trying to get it today, but what's going to happen? We got another brawl brewing.
Yeah, second Drake on the line here for GENG, but it is going to be a full 5v5 as the Magnastorm is decent, but the Cyclone is looking better. That is Tarzan getting the Dragon, but oh god, the ricochets from Hope. Keen getting cut down, Ruler suffering the same fate, and Chovy is the last man standing. Shanks looking to put him down as it's a double here for the Croc. Oh my god, GENG just fall apart at the seams. Okay, Charm not going to quite connect there, but Flandre moves in, wants to give the kill over to Shanks. Good guy, Flandre. It's been the same way, I swear, since 2015 when he was on Snake. He's just a good guy.
Bit of a whiff on this one for GENG, though. That's going to be the mid turret going down on top of the Dragon, and it looks like we might be heading towards a series here in our grand finals with a near 3,000 gold lead now for Hope. It did so much ricochet damage in that fight. Could take that turret, could take the Herald here very late, but they will secure it. And AGL are fully in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, it does feel like this time around, GENG trying to scramble to fight for this Drake, but this time, Kyle gets that great engage, and you see that the follow-up is right there. Flandre is unkillable. The Ruler doesn't do any damage at this point, and yeah, he gets kind of bullied as well by Flandre, and just breaks up the entire fight. They crash down straight into that banana brush and take control of the fight.
The angle, too, at which AL had that Dragon, where they just held it. They're like, yeah, I know you're not in smite range, Canyon. Canyon all-ins towards it, goes for his Warrior's Trickster, gets on top of the Dragon, but it's not in smite range, so they just wait and take him out. And then Flandre gets in, and it's just super easy. GENG used all their tools to try to secure the objective, and were unsuccessful, and then didn't have anything left for the fight.
And now it is looking like a very uncomfortable position for the team that did have match point 4-0 for
that gold diff.
Like, that is absolute insanity. And yep, that last fight, that's what did it. A massive influx of gold. Flandre now able to knock down this outer turret. That is only going to continue that aggression here for AGAL, as two turrets off the back end of that team fight as well here for AL. Just means that they have skyrocketed into the lead. Now it's moving towards 5,000 after that top lane turret went down. Now Otacon is going to spawn. A possible way back in for GENG if they can find something heroic, but also a way to really put the nails in the coffin here for AL. They can get control of that Otacon and get that big buff.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy just thinking about all the great top laners we have at this tournament and how it does feel like it's coming down to a head-to-head between top laners in this best of 5. And it's crazy because Hope is the most fed guy on the Rift. We're not even, you know, we were talking about his damage and his ricochet damage and all that, but he doesn't feel like the main character at this point. GENG looking for a dive here on a Shanks.
Even committing Chovy's TP, they have to get this, and they will.
They certainly will be able to kill Shanks, but at what cost is the question, because the Otacon, as we said, spawn towards the top side, and they don't have it. They have one teleport.
So they're going to get the bottom inner turret as well. At least that's the assumption here with Keen and Chovy holding this push here. As AGL are going to take the backs here, it's going to be a slower Otacon. I like this decisive call. Is it a trade up? At this point with a relatively low pedal count, I think it's okay here for GENG. It's not what they wanted, but I think making the call to say, look, we don't have any top side control. They're leaving this vulnerable member under a low health turret bottom side. Let's all in on the bottom side, look for that turret instead. Double turrets go over. GENG shore up some of that gold deficit. They've now cut it nearly in half. This is the best choice they could have made given the circumstances.
Yeah, for sure. It does still mean that AGAL are very much in a commanding lead at this point. They're going to get a bunch of those pedals up to 25, and it's another crucial time in this game. We haven't talked too much about the dragons, but looking to get that next dragon, it is Mountain Soul, and then, of course, the Baron spawn in 3 minutes. It does feel like AGAL have total control over the map. There are a couple of wards that were just placed down here from GENG, so they should be able to clear those out, but yeah, I don't really feel like Chovy and Canyon have an angle to carry this game. It just feels like the Flandre show in game number 3.
Yep, looking a little bit rough here as well. I mean, a lot of the focus here from GENG is on the things that they can get, right? Killing Shanks, certainly one of those options. But right now, Shanks is like a 0 damage Talia. He is not part of the equation when it comes to what's dangerous.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's the setup. And he's the setup to potentially get picks, but then Flandre is the one who really gets into the back line and keeps Ruler from dueling with the Talia, keeps him from touching Hope, right? And the ways in which GENG have to come back in this game, the margins are so thin. But again, they cut down that gold lead massively. And they have to just kind of sit back defensively here for a while in this game and clear waves because they're playing into this Jibber. So the fact they were able to find 2 turrets is like the best case scenario, I feel, for them. And now they're going to have the better group here on this dragon. We do have a rotating Talia here. Shanks is coming down. He has that Weaver as well. Renekton's on the flank here. A tough fight for GENG to win, but they're going to stick the Drake.
Yeah, Flandre looking for that flank angle. They do have control vision. He does walk on in as Duro is waiting for him. Hook is going to connect max range here as they're looking to blow him up before anything's even started, and they do manage to find it. Kyle gets a Magnus Storm, but there is no one there to follow up. And now Keen is going to get thrown back, but it doesn't even matter. The Dragon goes over to GENG, and AL, they're just stun-locked here by a GENG that have discovered how to teamfight with this composition. Shanks and Hope are still there. They can offer some damage back. Duro's going down exceptionally low, and Hope still has those ricochets. Maybe I spoke too soon as Chovy at full health is looking for the targets as Ruler will finally find one back. But these rocks are on the floor, and Shanks is controlling the fight. The flash in from Keen is not going to work. Chovy's sidesteps need to be immaculate, and there's the flash forward, the boomerang for the double tap onto Ruler, and Hope is holding on to this game for AL.
Holding on indeed. Such an incredible end to that fight for the side of AGAL. I mean, that was looking all GENG. They shut down the one guy we were talking about all game in Flandre. They take him out immediately. They use their burst damage, their pick potential excellently, and then AGAL just barely able to eke it out towards the end of this fight.
This is such an incredible call to drop Dragon and go on to Flandre, even though he's going to get a massive Q. There's just too much CC. The CC chain is there. Like you mentioned, Atlas, Kyle can't really set up for any follow-up here. They get the Dragon as well. And from here, you could be happy to just walk away, but they want to get the wipe and get more. And this is when the outplays start to come through. Shanks' flash here, beautiful against Chovy. Tarzan is able to absorb so much pressure. Duro falls low, right? Canyon is 100% dead. Tarzan flashes for the kill. And then from here, you could still just kind of kite your way out. But look for the outplays. Keen flashes and whiffs here. And then, you know, at this point, you're just trying to force. Ruler has to flash his way well, but that whip from Keen is so important, and they just will not concede the point. The greed here from GENG is insane. They skill check AL, and they lose.
Yeah, Ruler not too happy about that one either, and I can understand some of the stunned faces from the crowd because, I mean, as a play-by-play, you often get into your mind what the vibe of a team fight, right, and who's winning and stuff like that. I got it wrong, you know? GENG were dominating, but then it was actually a win for AL in the very end. As you can see, Hope is still so incredibly far ahead. 6-0-5, 3 items on the Jibber, and now GENG kind of reeling. It is still only a 2.3k gold lead, and at 25.5 minutes, that's borderline meaningless. But there's Arakan on top of it, which is only getting more and more valuable, as it is only AGAL that's going to be getting pedals from this point on. And there's a lot of these intangibles that they have been able to take control of. But GENG do at least have some dragons that are starting to stack up.
Yeah, they get that second dragon. That's a big part of that last fight, actually, that they were able to pick up the one. Take a look at the XP and the levels. It's actually Hope on top. It's all those kills, all those assists. He's got the max bounty on him right now. And yeah, I mean, GENG, it was a good read to say, okay, AG, they love to go for these flanks. They love to come from so many different angles. Finn was talking about it all tournament long on the desk, and they do. They're fantastic at setting up the team fights, but GENG were able to get ahead of it, and it just, you know, they were able to do that, but they don't have a real answer for Hope. Like we saw in that last fight, Duro was able to hook on him, but it just got spell shielded. They don't have that hard engage onto the Sivir, who is basically untouchable at this point.
They used everything on the Renekton, and then Hope just didn't whiff, man. He didn't mess it up. He played so carefully. He was the last to flash to secure the kill, right? He was not playing defensively. He was playing defensively. He was not playing aggressively until he knew he had the guarantee, as there's a pick potential on the Canyon.
Yeah, shove does come on through there as Canyon looking to try and make his way out. The Magnet Storm doesn't quite do it, but still, the wall is going to come down, and AL are looking for their targets. The Crescent Guard going to go in, but AL not quite able to get their teeth all the way in, but still, they push them out, and now they're going to look for a Baron angle.
They have double control vision here on the approach to the Baron. GENG are going to instantly TP back in, but I just don't know if a contest is possible. Canyon has no flash. It's coming soon, but I think they're just simply going to have to give this up, which feels horrible because the Dragon is 45 seconds away. They're not going to be able to trade objectives here. They just kind of have to sit back and let AL have it.
Yeah, in terms of trades, I mean, the health trade was huge. They got a lot of summoners down as well, just trying to push them out of the jungle and essentially make it so there would be no contest. And that's exactly what AL did fantastically in that last fight. And the timing of this is great because they can just regroup, buy their items, and go straight to the Mountain Drake and really try to solidify that lead. It's still in touching distance for GENG, but you're really beginning to see it float away in the hands of AGAL here.
Yep, 2 inner turrets left on the map here. So AGAL, after this Drake is secured, can head up there, grab that extra bit of money. That could really break the camel's back, as we like to say. AL just going to start this one, and GENG have no interest in contesting this whatsoever. Minion waves are going to be the priority to make sure that this Baron gets as little value as possible.
Some of the things I think we have to really be tracking and watching now here for GENG's potential miracle comeback in this game are Canyon's flash, Chovy's flash. Like, how do they get past the front line? How do they get past Flandre, get a spell shield out of Hope and kill him, you know? And there's no teleport wards, really. Like, there's one that's very far away from the AL push here that you could try to go for as Chovy, but it's so risky, it's so greedy. This feels like it's all but over here in this game 3.
Oh, the flash forward on top of Keen. They saw that stealth was on cooldown. He tries to get himself out, but Hope, he had the Beyblades in the air, and he's able to take down the Aurora. Chovy flashing away, doesn't get the charm, and Hope is just a freight train. And these Nexus turrets are under fire. AL, they are not interested in the rest of the base. They just want to take down this Nexus and look for a second to try and bring us to some silver scrapes. GENG will put up a bit of a fight, but it's a flash away from Ruler, and that will expose the last Nexus turret here as AGAL, they are not out of this without a fight. This game 3 was all theirs, and this series just got interesting.
We finally have a series on our hands. AGAL finally woke up here at the SDC Arena. Wonderful stuff to see. It was a close game, but you, again, just like when GENG were leading, this time it was AGAL were leading, and you could feel it the whole way through.
And Hope getting such a lead, playing with such confidence in that skill check from GENG. That was the defining moment in the game when he and Shanks were able to outplay. After what was a great collapse here onto Flandre, GENG get the Dragon, but then get incredibly greedy, and AL hang on through what was a rocky mid-game.